सतनाम श्री वाहिगुरु साहिब जी। गोबिंदे मुकंदे उदारे अपारे, हरियं करियं निर्नामे अकामे। गोविंदे मुकंदे उदारे अपारे, हरियं करियं निर्नामे अकामे। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। Today we're going to go through Salok 91 to 119. So Maharaj says next, he explains us again that the Kriyaman, the present actions, they happen because of the previous actions. When the Jeev thinks that the current actions are happening because of him, then he keeps repeating the cycle of birth and death. But if he understands that whatever is happening through him is due to the previous actions, and he's actually not doing any new actions, meaning Paramatma is doing whatever is happening, only Paramatma is doing, then in this way, the current actions do not get stored in the Sanchit Karam. So the Sanchit Karam is where the actions are stored. And if he experienced the previous actions in this life, and with Nam Abhyas, he destroys the stored actions as well, because he is no longer the doer of them. So whatever actions are happening through this body is happening because of the previous actions. If I accept that I'm the doer of the current actions, then they get stored again, and they become the reason for the next birth. So when with Maharaj Kirpa, the wisdom is understood, the stored actions, the Sanchit Karam, they get destroyed instantly. Now Maharaj says instantly, within a second. It doesn't take even too long. But this has to happen with the wisdom, with the Gyan, and with Kirpa of Maharaj. Just like even a tiny flame of fire, when it comes in contact with dry grass, it destroys the grass immediately. The fire spreads and the grass gets destroyed immediately. Same way, the Sanchit Karam, the stored actions, are like that dry grass. And when the Nam Rupi fire, when it comes in contact with the stored actions, they all get destroyed. The new actions do not happen, and then the Jnani experiences the previous actions without labeling them as dukh or sukh. Sam karke. That's what it is called as, sam karke, to experience them. When the dukh comes, he does not label them as dukh. Nor when the sukh comes, he does not become excited about it, nor he labels them as dukh or sukh. Because dukh and sukh are subjective. Something that can be a dukh to me will be a sukh for someone else. And if something is a sukh for someone else, might be a dukh for me. So actually, there is no dukh or sukh in reality. So with Nam, the stored actions get destroyed. Thus, he does not come into the cycle of birth and death. Now, Guru says to Sikh that I have explained about the three types of the body: the physical body, the subtle body, and the causal body. The reason I have explained these different types of body is so that you can know what your actual sarup is from these. Guru says the reason behind explaining about these different types of they formed from the five elements is to make you clearly understand that you're not that. The truth is Atma, and so you can accept this as the truth and let go of the things that are not the truth. So Maharaj says, have a good vichar of this in your mind. And this vichar needs to happen outside of the class as well. Where you sit, do the vichar of the wisdom. While you're performing, other actions are happening through the body, the vichar is going on. And we actually contemplate and apply in the life. The physical body and the subtle body is formed from agyanta of tamo and rajogun. The Atma is forever remaining and is conscious. It is within Kal as well as beyond Kal as well. The physical and the subtle body is always forming and getting destroyed. But the Atma is Akhand. Akhand means that which does not get destroyed or is unbreakable. So Maharaj says, know that Atam Sarup. Maharaj says that let's actually observe and understand how this body is actually causing us dukh from birth to death. If we actually understand this, only then we will be able to rise above this body. Otherwise, we'll keep thinking that I am this body. So Maharaj is giving us proper example that how this body only goes through the dukh. So first, before birth, it experiences dukh in mother's womb. Then when it comes out of the birth canal and it takes birth, again it cries. Then it doesn't have any teeth and it experiences difficulty in eating or drinking. Then in youth, as it goes through calm, it causes dukh to mind. When it grows old and gets busy in family, then again he runs around and experiences dukh. In old age, he stops walking again, loses his teeth again, is unable to eat as well, and then again experiences dukh like this. Again, when the death comes of the body, it experiences dukh again. So from birth till death, this body is full of dukh only. The Atma, that which is not visible, is the Shuddha Sarup. So Maharaj says, let's recognize that which is the truth and Anandarup. But the Agyani says, I am this body and I'm alive because of this body only. Those who think themselves to be the body, they are equal to an animal only. As long as we consider ourselves to be this body, then the next birth could be that of an animal or on any form from that 8.4 million, 84 lakh cycle of birth and death due to the actions performed in this birth. Now, Maharaj explains that there are six vikars, vices of the body, but the Atma has no vikar in it. Now, Kaviji is going to explain them further. And also, there are 10 flaws. In Punjabi, it's called like dosh. 10 dosh that are present in the body. And what are the six vikars? So, when the body is formed and takes birth, it experiences pain. Then again, when it grows, it experiences pain in the bones, gums, such as when teeth are formed. Then it experiences dukh in childhood, youth, old age, and again upon death. So these are the six vices of the body. And if we reflect upon them, as we would all know, we have experienced these two in the body. Now, Kaviji explains about the 10 flaws of the body. The mind is occupied with chinta. So chinta is constant thinking. That constant chinta leads to overthinking as well. The mind is filled with negative or the bad thoughts. The body is filled with foul smell as well. There is always some sort of pain going on in the bones, joints as well. Maharaj says, know this well, that how this body has so many dosh in it. So if we reflect, most of us are in our either late 20s or 30s, and we would know how the body has transformed over years. When we were as a child, our body had different type of pain. Now, as the age is progressing, it experiences different types of pain. So it's constantly in pain, one or the other form. There is always something going on. Then this body goes through so many diseases, due to which the body suffers in so many ways again. Then eventually it becomes weak and it stays with the support of muscle and blood. So this body remains in the process of birth and death. When we reach old age, then we often reflect that how our life literally just passed away in such a short period of time. So this is something we need to pause and reflect to even after the class as well. If you're 25, 30 years old, take a pause later on and just process that how the body has changed and how the body has experiences so many levels of different pains. Even now, when there is some sort of trouble either happening at the mind level or at the level of the body, there is always some kind of pain going on. When the breath energy will finish, then we will regret that we did not use this birth for the purpose that we got it for, which is Gobind Milan ki ye teri bariya. So this is how it is being described, that how this body is full of suffering only. As long as we are attached to this body, we will keep experiencing dukh and sukh. But the Atma does not come under these vices. And if we practice Atmavastha and experience dukh and sukh as one and the same only, equal, then there will be no reason left to take another birth. So all the Ved, Shastra, Gurbani, Mahapurush says this only, that you are the Atam Sarup, and contemplate and practice this wisdom thoroughly. No matter how many granths we read, how many books we read, they say the same thing. And they do tell you to contemplate. Because if you're just reading, if we are just reading and not applying it or not contemplating it, then the Gyan does not get transformed into the Anubhav Prakash. Then we are just reading. Maharaj says, Galli jog na hoi. So Atam is always Satchit Ananda Sarup, which means forever remaining, is conscious and is never ending. But the body is formed and will get destroyed. That is a fact too. That which takes birth and dies is not the Sattvastu. The Sattvastu is Atma, that which never changes and it remains forever. So we should practice that which is forever remaining. Then there will be no chinta as well. Now, Guruji has explained everything about the physical body, the subtle body, the causal body, 5 elements and how they further are formed into the 25 elements. Yet there is still doubt in the mind of Sikh. So Sikh asks Maharaj again, Maharaj, I have tried understanding everything, and this is what I have understood, that the physical body is made of 5 elements, and I am not that. But now I think I am the subtle body, which is composed of mind, intellect, chit, which is the memory or the thought process, and the ahankar. I have let go of the physical body, but now I wonder whether I am this mind only. So please explain, is this a correct understanding? Guruji explains that the physical body is formed of the physical 5 elements. And from the subtle form of those 5 physical elements, the subtle body is formed. So from the subtle root of those 5 elements, the subtle body is created. But you are neither those 5 elements or the subtle form of those elements, which means you are neither the physical body nor the subtle body, the antekaran. You are the alak, which cannot be known, nad, whose beginning cannot be known, akhand, that which cannot be destroyed. You are that truth which is the Atma. So do not consider yourself as the subtle body as well, because it's always changing as well. If you consider yourself as the subtle body, then I will give you an example on how to let go of yourself as the subtle body as well. So Maharaj gives example here that let's say you're asleep and some thieves enter your house and they take away your things. Even at that moment, you have no clue about it in the sleep. When you're asleep, the pran energy, the breath is going on, and ahankar are still present. So these are the subtle forms. So if you were the subtle form too, then wouldn't you know there was thief who has entered the house? Why didn't the breath energy or the ahankar wake you up and tell you that there is thief in the house? If they were able to tell you that, then we can say that you're the subtle form. But they don't wake you up and you remain asleep. You remain in that state, but you are still the consciousness, meaning the one who is the knower. Because the next day when you wake up, you know you have no clue what happened. And you often say, how come I did not know that there is a thief who has entered? So this is a way to understand that you're not the subtle body. Maharaj explains that the functions of ears can only be performed by the ears and not the nose or vice versa. The eyes cannot perform the functions of the tongue, nor can the tongue do what the eyes are meant to do. The feet cannot perform the functions of the hands, and the function of the hands cannot be done by the feet. So all the 10 senses perform their own functions only. The eyes are for the sight, the ears, they listen, and so on. So these senses, the indriya, have the gyan of whatever function they perform. If these senses were Atam Sarup, then the eyes would know about the ears as well. And the ears would know about the mouth as well, and so on. But this doesn't happen. The ears do not know about the eyes, and so on. So know that these are the Jad Vastu. and not the consciousness. They cannot do anything or they cannot move on their own. These senses function because of the consciousness, but they themselves are not the consciousness itself. Thus, Maharaj says to do vichar of that Atam Sarup. Now, as previously discussed, the physical body is formed of the five physical elements with Rajo and Tamogun. The subtle body is formed of the subtle form of the five elements of the Satogun. Mind is formed from the Satogun. Like the 10 senses has knowledge of their own functions, similarly, the mind has the gyan of those 10 senses. So mind knows what the ears are listening to, what the eyes are seeing. So mind can tell about each and every sense. So the mind is the knower of the function of the 10 senses. But you're not the mind as well. Because when having a conversation with someone, we often sometimes say that, can you repeat that? I did not hear that. Even though you were physically sitting right there and listening, but because the mind was not still, that's why we did not hear it. Oftentimes we say this, that my mind is not staying still, or I'm overthinking. We know this, that I'm overthinking. Thus, Maharaj says, understand this as well, that there is something else behind this mind, that which is the consciousness. Now, talking about the three stages, Maharaj explains about the wakeful stage, the dreaming state, and the deep sleep. In the wakeful state, we say that I am awake and I'm doing actions. In that wakeful state, whatever we attach to the ahankar, that comes out in the dream. And then we say, I had a dream. Then there is a deep sleep when there is no dream. But when the person wakes up as well, again the next morning, he says that I had such a deep sleep and I had no clue where I was sleeping. Who is the one saying that I had no clue? Surely there was someone who was the knower of it, who knows that there was actually no dream about it. So Mara says that after waking up from the deep sleep, he says that it was such a deep sleep and I had no dream. The one who knows of this state, the one making the mind say that I had no dream or no clue of that state, is the Atma itself. Because Atma never sleeps, nor it can be destroyed, nor it has an end. It is Atma that is the knower of the mind as well. When the mind is in deep sleep, it is the Atma that knows about that sleep, that state. So Atma is the knower of all the three states. The state where we are walking around in our wakeful state, dreaming, and the deep sleep. So those who have this wisdom that he is the knower of all these states, he is the Atam itself. Only they are called as Jnani. As the mind has been formed because of the subtle five elements, and when the wisdom is understood and completely absorbed, then the mind ceases to exist. Meaning it resides in its Atam Sarup, its mood. The mind loses its own identity then. Now, because the mind is formed and then it ceases to exist. It means it is not a Sattvastu. Mind is going to get destroyed anyway. But those who actually destroy this mind while being alive in this body are known as Shaheed. So there are two types of Shaheed. Those who have won over their mind by conquering it, by fighting with the vices, are Shaheed while they are living in the body. And those who have sacrificed their breath while fighting in the Jang the Maidan are also known as Shaheed. So with Mara Kirpa, we have to achieve this level of Shahidi while we are alive. Because the one who has conquered his mind while he is alive is the one who has become one with Paramatma. If someone could not conquer his mind while he has breath in the body, and if he thinks when the time of death of the body comes, then I will become one with Paramatma, then he is in big delusion here. Because if he has not done Nam Abhyas while he is alive, then the Nam will not enter his Hirday at the exact time when he has to leave the body. He will only remember what he has done in his entire life. So if one does Nam Abhyas 24/7, then when the time to leave the day comes, then that same Nam will become the cause of Mukti. That person is Mukt while he's alive. And when he leaves the breath, then as well he will be Muktambi because he has realized the truth. He knows he's not the one he's not the body that's dying. But it only happens because of the abhyas. Maharaj says, let go of the agyan that you're the body or the mind. As long as you're attached to these, you will remain agyani. You are that Atam Sarup. You have no end. There is also no agyan of when you came into being, because Atma is always Sat. Ad Sat, Jugad Sat, Happy Sat, Nanak Hosi Pi Sat. It is Sat it is the truth, ultimate truth in time, beyond time as well. It was never born, nor it dies. So Maharaj says, consider yourself as the Atma and not the body. Now, Sikh says, Maharaj, you have explained about 5 types of pran, 10 senses and mind. Now, Maharaj, there is intellect, the buddhi. Am I this intellect because it knows everything? So the intellect makes decisions based upon that which boosts the ahankar. Whatever decisions are made with the intellect, it is to help the ahankar only. That which gives satisfaction to the ahankar, the intellect will decide that. Now the question is this intellect the consciousness itself? Now there are 2 understandings about the Antakaran, the subtle body. One understanding states that the mind, intellect, chit and ahankar are the subtle body. The other vichar says that mind and intellect is known as Antakaran. So Maharaj explains that just like how the same wind, when it is located in 5 different locations in the body, is known with the different names. In the same way, to understand Antakaran, the subtle body, the Gyani, those who have the wisdom, they have formed the 4 subcategories. So these are the mind, man, buddh, intellect, ahankar, ego or home, chit, memory, the thinking. so that we can learn and have an understanding about them. When there is a desire in the mind of something, then the mind starts thinking about it. Then he thinks about how to obtain that thing. The place where all these thoughts occur, all the imagination happening is called the man, is the mind. Let's say you want to buy a car. The mind starts planning which is the best model, the pricing. The buddhi then starts deciding about it, the intellect. All the imagination that's happening at the level of the mind. Now, how to understand the ahankar? So the nature of mind is to have thoughts. It is always having different types of thought in it. But to attach yourself to that thought and to think, I am thinking, to label yourself to any thought is called as ahankar. It is so subtle. So if a thought appears related to any desire, and to label that thought that I want this thing, that labeling attachment to a thought is ahankar. I want to do this. I want to get this. That labeling is the ahankar. When this ahankar is formed, then the process of decision making begins to obtain that thing. And then the intellect starts planning as per. So this decision making and planning is done by the intellect. Now, chitta. So when a thought appears, and when we hold on to that thought and start to constantly think about it, this is known as chitta. Nanak chinta mat karo. Maharaj says, do not do chinta of anything. That's what Maharaj means. Now, all this is happening at one place only. It is mind, intellect, chitta, and ahankar, one and the same. Now, how to understand this? For example, like there is a Brahmin. When he is cooking, he's known as the chef, but when he recites part or he is teaching others, then he becomes the teacher. Although he himself is one person only, but based upon his actions, he is known by the action that he is performing. Similarly, antakaran is one thing only, but based upon what actions are being done through it, the names of mind, intellect, chit, and ahankar are given. So there was Indian Vedic scholar of Adhyatam Vedanta as well, Shankaracharya ji, who has given his opinion about Vedant and has said the same thing as well, that the Atma is beyond the intellect as well. Shankaracharya ji has written this same wisdom in his Granth known as Atambodh. So in order to understand, this is the sequence that has been explained. Beyond the physical body, it is the 10 senses. Then comes the mind, which is beyond the senses. Because the mind is the knower of the senses. Then it is the intellect, which makes the decision and gives the outcome as per. But for this intellect to work, consciousness is required. Thus, I am that consciousness itself. What happens in deep sleep? Only Atma, the consciousness, is present there. There are no desires, no sukh or dukh there. In that state, the Jeev is extremely close to Atma. Now, because the role of intellect is to contemplate and decide about dukh or sukh, example, when we look at a thorn or a hot pan, it is the intellect, the buddhi, that decides not to touch it. If you touch it, then you'll feel the pain. But if you can smell a flower, because if you do so, you'll feel happy. That's the intellect deciding. The function of intellect is to create desires and emotions as well. So the Maya can only put its impact up to the level of intellect. The Maya's impact is caused up to the senses, body, mind, and intellect. Beyond this is the consciousness that gives awareness to all the senses, the mind and the intellect as well. It is the consciousness itself that operates the mind, through which senses work, and due to which the physical body performs actions. So all this is happening due to the consciousness. Because when the breath stops and the body stops working, the consciousness breaks its contact with the body. The Atma of Jnani stays at the same place where they have left the body, because they know they don't have to be anywhere else. They are that Atma Sarup only. Those who are Ajnani, as they are attached to the subtle body, they take another form of the body. Therefore, know that when we are in deep sleep, the knower of that state who tells us that it was a deep sleep is the Atma. Nor am I the mind, the intellect, nor am the body. I am the Atma Sarup who is the knower of all. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ